TRX515 and the TX440 crossbows from TenPoint have a kind of a unique trigger system. It is a railless crossbow, which uses an arrow rest style containment up front and a trigger system in back that has a real dry fire system. So if you get to load an arrow and pull the trigger, nothing's going to happen. The way that trigger system works is on the HPX nocks, which you have to use on these bows. On the top of it is a little indent. And that little notch system there actually connects with a pin that'll drop into place. That pin allows for you to be indicated you're all the way back, and it gives you a nice positive click and a feel. You can actually hear a slight click, and you load it back in place. You can kind of feel it click into place. So it's a positive engagement. However, it is not a capture style nock where it physically snaps onto the string. You're basically bringing it back, resting it against the string all the way back, and the pin drops in as a locator. Now, there's a couple of advantages and disadvantages. The main advantage is that when it's going down the rail, it's not attached to the string and it's not squirrel tailing all over the place. It's actually going to allow for slight a bit of slip to be able to stay straight down the rail. The other thing is you don't have the problem where your arrow goes flying and your nock stays on the string. It also increases serving life. So it's a positive thing all the way around. However, because it is not snapping onto the string, you do need to be a little bit cautious when loading the arrow to make sure it's loaded correctly. And here's where it gets a little funky. When most of us are loading an arrow onto a bow, and we've been taught this for years, you bring it down, odd vein down. That's also really important. Make sure you have the odd vein down. Drop it in the trigger, and you want to shove it in there. You want to make sure it's all the way back. Well, for one thing, it doesn't do anything. You're not going to get any further back on that, so it's a complete waste of energy. The other problem we run into is that if you are slightly off, if you're not 100% straight on there, you'll actually start feeling some drag. You can actually, it gets tight, for lack of better terms. If you're not square in there, and you can feel it's just real draggy. It shouldn't do that. Properly loaded, it will just kind of come down, drop into the trigger, and just click. Nice, gentle click. Simple, simple, very little pressure. If you're putting it in, you're feeling it kind of tight, pull it back out, try it again. You're misaligned. Having that misalignment can cause string failure. So you've got to be careful when you're loading it that you come back straight in, odd vein down, just gently back till it clicks into place. I don't know if you're hearing that. Hope you're hearing it, but that's all it does. Next problem, and I'm going to use the 515 to show this one, is if you're not paying attention to what you're doing, you can do this, where the arrow is actually not on the rollers. It's off to one side. It'll shoot, and it's not going to go where you're pointing it, and it can cause problems. So you need to, just like a vertical bow, you need to make sure it's got all 3 points connecting here. So it's really, real important that when you're loading it, hold it up, bring it down, drop it in gently till it clicks into place. It's a slight click. And you will make sure that you are aligned on those 3 points. You're not hanging outside of that brush system. I don't know if you can see that okay or not, but you can be on it and not have it actually on the roller. You try to shoot it like that, it's not going to work. So a couple of things in caution when you're loading these bows. Do it correctly, no problems at all.